Hello, I'm Graham Dale. We're often told that the primary principal responsibility of a government is the defence of the realm and its citizens. If you agree with that dictum, as do I, you might also agree that since the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the peace dividend has been squandered and successive British governments have failed in that sacred duty to protect the nation and its citizens. There has, of course, been a shock, horror, wake-up call to discover that a rogue state such as Iran is able to hit Britain with ballistic missiles. And whilst the media is focused, rightly probably, on the Iranian war at the moment, we shouldn't forget that the Ukrainian war rages on into its fifth year. And notwithstanding the colossal loss of life and materiel suffered by the Russians, President Putin appears to want to continue relentlessly with this special military operation. And there appears to be some cross-fertilization between Russia and Iran in terms of intelligence sharing and drone manufacture. If we add into this volatile mix the confusion and uncertainty created by President Trump as to whether or not America will honor its treaty obligations to NATO, we can see that Britain really is in a vulnerable position. And should President Putin decide that the confusion and uncertainty in NATO is worth a crack at one or other of the Baltic states, Britain will very soon be involved in a shooting war. And it's clear from recent events that we are very, very badly prepared for such an eventuality. You only have to look at the embarrassing fiasco surrounding HMS Dragon to see what a parlous state we're in. You'll recall that Dragon was undergoing what appeared to be fairly modest servicing requirements, which were being undertaken on what appears to be a fairly leisurely contract, 9 till 5, Monday to Friday. And when the call was made to deploy to protect our bases in Cyprus, Dragon wasn't ready and wouldn't be ready for at least another 2 to 3 weeks. Well, when you combine this with the fact that 5 of the other Type 45 destroyers in our fleet were also unseaworthy, combined with the fact that 5 of our 6 Astute-class nuclear submarines were also not seaworthy, the one that was en route to Australia under the AUKUS Pact, and further add the fact that neither of our 2 aircraft carriers were available for deployment. Now, how on earth has the Ministry of Defence, or certainly the officials at the Ministry of Defence, presided over such an omni-shambles? I mean, no doubt no one was brought to account for it, and perhaps they were all working from home, tending their garden, looking after the dog, as this international humiliation unfolded. And of course, the immediate result has been that the Cypriots are questioning whether or not the maintenance of Britain's bases in Cyprus is something that they should put up with and want to renegotiate. We've got into this terrible state of affairs because basically, as I said earlier, the government has failed in its duty to provide our forces with the equipment it needs to defend the nation. So what can be done? First of all, we need to release cash, which can go to the MOD to purchase the equipment we require. The immediate source of cash for me is the Overseas Development Aid budget. Now, I know there will be howls of anguish from the usual quarters, but the situation is simply this. In the current year, we are committing 0.5% of gross national income to overseas development aid, and this amounts to £13.7 billion. And although the amount for next year is being reduced to 0.3% of GNI, supposedly to put the savings into defence, it still means that £8.7 billion has been given away in overseas development aid. So that's over £22 billion in a little over 2 years. We simply cannot afford this largesse. We need the money, we need it now, and it's needed for the defence of the realm. So I'm afraid the ODA budget has to be cut back severely to its bare minimum, and the resources released should be used to purchase proven equipment to help the defence of the country. I mean, for example, we need anti-ballistic missile systems to protect London and our main military bases. We also need to up our game with regard to drone warfare, and clearly we should consult the Ukrainians and make the most of their 5-year experience of drone warfare. But basically, we need to create a drone wall to protect our vital infrastructure, nuclear power stations, the railway hubs, ports, airports, and so on. And this needs to be done quickly. And the cash, as far as I can see anyway, can only come from savings on the ODA budget. And now, in addition to that, we need to look at recruitment into the forces. It's been a shame that over the years, due to budget cuts, qualified and experienced personnel in all the forces have been let go, whilst they've still had several years of very useful experience to give. So this has got to be stopped straight away. And also, why have forces recruitment been farmed out to a private company? Serco took over from Capita in 2025, and Serco have the contract now for the next 7 years to basically recruit new personnel into all the armed forces, and their contract is worth £1.5 billion. Now, surely recruitment should be handled entirely by the forces concerned themselves. If we look then at conscription, it seems to me we've now reached the point where conscription can no longer be avoided. We have over 1 million young people between the ages of 16 and 24 who are so-called NEETs, which is not in employment, or sorry, not in education, employment and training. Now, these people are basically living off the welfare state. And so I'm afraid they've all got to be reassessed. And those that can work, if you like, they should be conscripted into the forces. And they should be paid the minimum wage. They should be conscripted for 24 months. And they will learn some military skills, but also they will learn skills which they can use in their future lives in the jobs market. And of course, people with physical disabilities can also be included in this, because clearly people with physical disabilities can still play a very important role in the forces in terms of administration and logistics and so on. And finally, we come to the bloated welfare budget, which is running at £300 billion at the present time. It's quite clear that this cannot go on at this sort of level. If it does, the country is very fast approaching bankruptcy. And what is needed is for Starmer to garner some courage from somewhere and pick up a Xavier Millet chainsaw and take it to the welfare budget. And he should make it clear to the blockers in the left of his party that this will be pursued as a vote of confidence. And if it is defeated by them, then he will call a general election, and many of them, of course, will lose their seats. I see the welfare budget as really an existential crisis, in addition to that being faced by our military. Because, as I say, it can't go on at this level. Britain in 1976 had to call in the IMF for an emergency bailout loan. Well, I'm afraid the sums involved now would be so colossal that the IMF would not be able to help. And we really are facing a very stark and depressing economic future unless welfare can be brought under control. So there we are. We need to take action to put the military in a position where it can defend the realm and its citizens, and we need to take a chainsaw to the welfare budget in order to stave off bankruptcy. Thank you.